Today is the start of the direction of where we're gonna be going. It is the future endeavors for this channel and the car life that we're gonna live, or that I'm gonna live, and I'm gonna take you guys along for the road with me. Now, it's a bit more complicated than you guys think, but I wanna address the elephant in the room as to why I'm not behind the steering wheel, as to why I'm not giving this video to you guys while I'm driving or anything like that. So I lost my license about 3 years ago now. 3 years ago, January. Holy shit, it's been 3 years. And I lost my license in January of 2018, sorry. And I was due to only have a 2-year ban. Unfortunately, trying to explain this stuff is kind of difficult because it's complicated. So basically, 3 years ago, I made the worst regret of my life, and the biggest regret that I will ever have until the day I die. And I drove, and I fell asleep behind the wheel, and I hit a lamppost at like 5 miles an hour. Now I know you guys in the comments can say as to how horrendous and how bad that was, and like I never should have done that. And I know, trust me, no one can punish you worse than you. So yeah, I just wanted to address the elephant in the room and just say that this is it. You know, that this has happened. I spent 3-4 days in the cells in prison for just because of the odd timing that I did it, because it was a Thursday night, Friday morning, and in Scotland, if you do something like that over the weekend, or like coming close to the weekend, they keep you in the cells until Monday when you would get your court hearing. But unlike most people, when it came to like drink driving and bans and stuff like that, normally you would have to redo a test. Now, unfortunately for me, the car that I hit the pole with, it wasn't actually a write-off. As I said, I hit it at like 5 miles an hour. The airbag didn't deploy. Like, I drove, granted, but I was not at the point where I was monumentally pissed. And you're gonna see later on in the channel, I'm a very competent driver, and I'm a very confident driver. That was no excuse, obviously, for doing what I did. So the car that I had at the time was a 206 1.4, and it was estimated value around about 13 to 1400 quid. I bought it for 200 quid. They said that if they got to keep the car, I would get to keep my license after my ban was done. The only thing I would need to do is do a medical, right? I do my 2 years, it's finally coming up. January comes up. They had a complication with my medical the first time round, so they rebooked it for March of 2020. So it's safe to say that that did not happen, and my medical fell through, and then we all got stuck in our houses for 6 months, 3, 4, or 5 months. Some people, depending on where you are and what nation you're living in and stuff like that, or where you are in the world. So that got cancelled, and the only time that I heard after that about my medical to get my license back, well, I didn't hear a single thing. They said that they would be in touch whenever everything blows over. Now, after a very long anticipated wait, they got in touch with me to say that my medical would be due to get done on February 1st. That was back in December, where we thought everything was getting better, especially in Scotland. Now, things started getting worse for the country, for the UK. Now, it was only a couple of days ago that we received the news that we had to go into a new lockdown, which is unfortunate, and we were going to have to get furloughed again. The DVLA didn't get in touch with me to say that my medical had been cancelled. The brand new medical that I was going to have to go and do on February 1st. Now, if you think about that timeline, February 1st, it's not that far away. Great. I'm dancing in my boots. I'm finally getting a wee bit hyped up. I can finally start thinking about ambition and doing this and making content for you guys to enjoy and for you guys to get on board with, and just, you know, come along the journey with me. It was only about 2 days ago that I heard that the lockdown might go as late as March, which means that inevitably the DVLA will be in touch with me again to say that my medical is cancelled. It's either only a matter of time, or that it's specifically just for England and Scotland should still be okay, because it says, or the government says, that we should be out of this by come the end of January, which makes no difference for me because I'm on the 1st of February, you know. But until we hear that, we have a plan. We have a plan. Instead of my drift build, which is still going to happen. So, granted, we don't have a license. We might not get the license yet, which is a very unfortunate situation. If you think for a single second that a license is gonna stop me after 3 years of waiting to start doing this with you guys, no. Straight out of the mind. No chance. Absolutely not. So, here's what's gonna happen. On the side that I haven't told you about is that on top of the MGB GT that I have no photos of, I haven't got the car, all the photos were just inspiration or ideas that I wanted, and I've got the idea. I know exactly what the car is going to look like by the time that I'm finished it. It's a lot of fabrication, unfortunately. I'm okay with fabrication. I did 3 years in welding and fabrication when I was younger, and I know what I'm doing. Granted, it'll still be a learning curve because it's been a while since I did that, but I know what the car is going to look like, and it will be getting bought very soon. Now, if you put that to the side, where there is no car at the moment and there's no license until February, we have a car that I've not told you guys about. If you actually look at my my Instagram page, my actual Instagram page and not just Bad Bunny, you'll notice that I also have an MR2. I have a 1993 Toyota MR2 imported from Japan that I bought in Ireland about 5 years ago. Now that has been sitting up at my parents' house for almost 2 years now. It was sitting at a garage for a year because it had a really bad misfire, it wasn't running right, there was kind of a few things wrong with the car. Just because of like previous owners and stuff like that. The mechanic that was doing the work to it, he said that he had an MR2, he knows them pretty well, so I sent it over to him, and now I will put up a photo of the state of it after a year sitting there, and that's it. It's an incredibly sorry sight. He had asked me for a couple of parts, so I got a fuel pressure regulator that he thought was needing changed. Turns out it wasn't that. And then a fuel pressure regulator relay and a new ECU. So I got the new ECU. Granted, it took a wee while to find because ECUs for these particular cars are not easy to come by. Personally, I found mine in Malaysia, which is mad. So I got that imported, got it put on the car, and he just stuck it in the car and hoped for the best. We found out that the reason that it wasn't actually running right was because the ECU was burnt out, and that was from a really badly installed VeilSide spoiler that I still have. It's just not on the car. Quite a few of the bolts are rusted off and stuff like that. So it meant the water was getting into the boot well, which meant that which is where the ECU is located, by the way, because it's a mid-engine rear-wheel drive. The ECU has to go somewhere in there, so it went in the boot well, which is the stock place to put it, and water got into it and it burnt it out. Didn't realize it at the time, didn't think about it, and then when he would try and turn it over again, it fried the ECU again. And I was getting so fed up, so eventually I phoned him up and I asked him, like, what's the progress, and he says, no, I'm really sorry, mate, you're just gonna have to come and pick it up. So that's what I did. I went off and I picked it up, took it home, and I started getting to work. I took the whole ECU wiring harness out. I took the engine harness out, all the way up to the dash, and I'll put a photo of the catastrophe, shall we say, of what the wiring harness was up there. And yeah, I did. So the ECU wiring harness I sent off to a guy called Woodwind. But unfortunately, all they did was kind of wrap the ECU harness. I thought that there was a couple of loose wires within that ECU harness that I knew about, and I thought that he would fix because he said that he was a specialist in doing these things. No, he just wrapped it and then just threw it back to me and charged me an excessive amount of money. Which I wasn't really too happy about, but yeah, it is what it is, and it got the job done. But I eventually got the wiring sorted, plugged it all back up into the car, and eventually sourced out a company that actually deal with refurbishing these particular ECUs, which was about £175. So within 2 weeks, I got that back. We got it plugged in, put fuel in it, and I'll show you that video right now.
Hey, on you go.
So it's safe to say that that was probably one of the happiest days of 2020. And probably one of the only happiest days of 2020, let's get that right. So we eventually finally got the car running. It sounded great. I was so happy to finally hear that car again, man. As soon as I heard it, I was done. Like, holy hell. I was so happy. I was almost in tears. So granted, we don't have the MG, but we do have an MR2. There's a lot of stuff that I need to get done to that car, but there's not a lot that I actually have to do to the car to get it roadworthy. So in the next couple of days, I'm going to be shifting from my new flat to my parents' house, where I'm going to be working on the car again. And on top of that, I also want to know if you guys, so I put up some content onto Instagram about like Forza Horizon, like my aspect of drifting and stuff like that on not necessarily a simulator, but like obviously doing it on my Xbox and stuff like that. That's where I get all my practice, and that's where every driver gets all their practice nowadays, because we can't go fucking outside. So, I just want to know if you guys want to see some more content from Horizon and the cars I would particularly. Oh yeah, that's another thing. We are set on doing an MGB GT build, but I want to know that you guys should be quite keen on seeing that. Obviously, it's an old British car, and it's a very heavy British car, and they're not necessarily expensive, and they're not necessarily inexpensive, but at the same time, it's kind of. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to do it, was because it was unique and fun, and something that not that I know anyone's ever done. If you guys know of anyone that's done an MGB GT drift build, by all means stick it in the comments below, and I'd be happy. Like, because hell, I'm gonna need as much help as I can get, either by doing it or deciding that it's not necessarily the route that I want to go. Because granted, like, I know every part that I need to get, I've all sourced out. It's just a case of buying it, or the majority of the parts. Some parts are a hell of a lot more complicated to come by, others are very easy. So yeah, this is my situation, and I want to hear your guys' feedback, if you could. I know that this is not the video that you guys all anticipated for the first video, but then again, life just kind of takes a turn for the worst sometimes, and you just gotta grind your teeth, and you just gotta go, right, it's happened, what can we do to make it better? And this is why the MR2 is going to be making is going to be showing face on this channel. I actually originally had no intention of using this car on this channel, but you make do with what you've got, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, so I'm still buzzing for that car to be back on the road there. The Black Pearl. Yeah. I had actually only got a delivery from MR2 Ben, he's a notorious specialist in MR2s and parts and all the rest of it. So we actually got that delivered today, and it's sitting at my family house, and as soon as we manage to get up to the family house, we'll be finishing off the MR2 from where I left it off. There's a lot of bits that still need to go in the car. I updated the steering wheel, shift knob, my mother stitched up the seats, the leather seats, because they were pretty torn up. But I'll show you guys all this in in the next video that I make, which will be great. So content on here maybe one every 2 weeks, because it's not that big a channel. I mean, granted, I appreciate already everyone that's supported me and everyone that's really gone out of their way to help me and reassure me that it's gonna be good. So yeah, I'll try and do as much as I can, but obviously we're limited to everything that's going on, unfortunately. So, but yeah, this is officially the first video of Bad Bunny, and if you like the video, by all means comment, subscribe, and like the video, because I'm gonna need it. And if you guys have any advice that I should get, regardless as to what it is, whether it's the MGB GT build, or it's the MR2 build, or it's the whole licensing thing, or drifting, or whatever, by all means just throw it in the comments and I'll be sure to get back in touch with you. Thank you so much, guys, and I promise that it'll only get better from here. I mean, granted, I might get my medical cancelled, but there will be stuff coming. Promise. Thank you so much, guys.